Listen, I should warn you that I've watched the movie twice and I still only understand about a quarter of it, if at all. But to be fair, it took me like 10 years to understand it of Evangelion, so, you know, as you watch this video, please don't hold me to like anything I might be saying wrong, at least for the next decade or so. Thank you! Hi everybody, Carla here. This is my fandom vlog where I talk about my fandoms or about fandom in general, and today I've got a doozy for you. So on August 12th, the last Evangelion movie, Evangelion 3.0+1.0, Thrice Upon a Time, wow that's a mouthful, premiered on Amazon Prime Video worldwide. So it had already come out in Japan in March. It wasn't until now that it hit streaming services, so now we're able to watch it. I wasn't able to watch it straight away because when it comes to anime, I generally watch it with my brother, and he could not remember anything that had happened in any of the previous Evangelion movies, I guess. He's not as big of an EVA fan as I am, I guess. But we need to do a rewatch in order for him to understand, right? So it took me a few days to actually get to watch 3.0+1.0. I have now watched it twice. 2 times. One with him, one by myself. And I have a lot of feelings. Needless to say.
I just have a lot of feelings.
So here I am, about to vomit out all those feelings to you people, because nobody else will understand, correct? Like, we Eva fans, we get us. So I have to vent about everything that I just watched. 2 warnings. First, this is probably going to be very long. Like, really long. I may have to split it into 2 videos because I just have so much to say, you guys. I just have a lot of feelings. So yeah, this is probably gonna take a while, but no worries. I've got my water here. Coca-Cola, please sponsor me. And I am ready to talk for hours, so let's do this. Warning number 2, there are going to be spoilers for everything. This is literally the last movie in a series. How would you ever not expect me to go into spoilers? I've literally gone into spoilers for everything else. So there are going to be a lot of spoilers in this thing. I will talk about everything up until the very last scene, probably because the very last scene is kind of the point of it all. So, like, yeah.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
If you haven't watched it, please head on over to your friendly neighborhood Amazon Prime. I'm sorry, there's nothing friendly or neighborhood about Amazon. I'm sorry. But just head on over to Amazon Prime Video. Subscribe for 1 month. It's like $6. It's not gonna kill you. And you get free shipping for a month. So yay. Actually, this is the first time I've ever subscribed to Amazon Prime Video. So I got like 30 days free trial, which is like insane. Especially because I'm in Australia, and for some reason none of the streaming services give me any trial periods here in Australia. I don't understand why. Like Disney Plus, I'm looking at you. I'm watching you. Like I see you not giving me the trial period that you advertised, but whatever. Amazon Prime Video gave me 30 days free trial, and I'm still gonna pay the I think it's $6.99 Australian or something like that. It's really cheap. So I get 2 months of free delivery, I guess. Worked out for me. Whatever. I don't care. It was worth it because I got to see the last Evangelion movie, and I have a lot to say about it, so let's go. First, I just have to talk a little about the cinematography and the production of the movie. First thing that came to mind is I wonder if they warned people, like if there was a warning on screen or something before the movie. that they might get motion sickness because that was kind of a thing in this movie, or that there would be lots of flashing lights, because I don't think that's good for neurodivergent people or people who suffer from epilepsy attacks. Like, I hope they were warned. I'm just saying. The cinematography in this movie, god damn it. Like, I feel like I could make an entire video of just me waxing poetic about how pretty everything is. This movie is so pretty. Like, both in the desolate way, because as I mentioned in my last Evangelion video, like, the views we see of the post-impact world are freaking creepy and horrible, but there's also like a beauty to it, in a sense, that everything is just destroyed and decayed. And you know how those people who like look up deserted buildings and dilapidated buildings to like photograph them and stuff, that kind of thing. But also we do get to see sort of, you know, nature coming back, a la COVID, a la post-lockdown COVID times, I guess, like nature making a comeback, in a sense. And it's beautiful, and just the shots they used, for the most part, the camera angles, the camera movements, this movie is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I don't know what the budget was for this thing, but it was worth every penny. I'm just saying. My brother thought that the music was kind of weird, like some songs just didn't fit or stood out too much. I tend to not pay attention to the movie. I mean, he's a music major, so yeah, it's kind of his thing. So he will. That's kind of what he wants to do, right? He wants to score video games and movies and stuff like that. So he knows. I don't know. For me, it was fine. I kind of liked it, honestly. I generally don't pay a lot of attention to the music, but I liked this one. I especially liked that one song that sounded just like Unbreak My Heart. I don't know why, but it for a second there I was like, wait, are they actually playing Unbreak My Heart? And no, they weren't, but it was funny. I don't know, I liked it. Also, can I just say that Shida Seisa's score from that one trailer that I already reacted to last time, that song is even more epic in context. Like, oh my god, I was so pumped. Like, yes! Eva's destroy, smash! It was like super, it freaking pumped me. It was like Ride of the Valkyries, man. It's like, it pumped me up so much. I love that, you know, the one, the epic one. Oh, I love that song. Also, it's funny because they literally played Joy to the World. Huh. Why are they playing a Christmas song? Plot twist, this is actually a Christmas movie. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I guess they were going with the joy theme because, you know, a theme in Evangelion is the Ode to Joy. Like, Kaworu sings it over and over, and it plays when he dies and stuff like that. So, like, we've seen Ode to Joy before, so I guess they just wanted to go with the joy theme and they played Joy to the World, but it's so weird to me because my brain just interprets it as a Christmas song every time. So yeah, I can't help it. Now let's talk about things that came back, because yes, yay, continuity. So the string song from 2.0, that was the first thing I think I screeched at when it came back, because that song to me represents like what I want to see from Evangelion, which is like the kids being happy and being able to be kids and do things that normal kids do and just hanging out and, you know, family shenanigans, that kind of stuff. I know that's not what Eva is about, but like every time I get a little bit of that it just warms my heart. So that's what I want, and for me in my head, that song, the strings song, it just represents those moments because it's the one they repeatedly use for those moments in the background. And it came back, and I don't think we saw it in 3.0, right? Because 3.0 was so freaking depressing from beginning to end, so there was no place in the world where they could actually use that song. But it came back from 2.0, and I love it, and it just... I have so many feelings. Also, the key of Nebuchadnezzar came back, which is great because I thought they were just going to forget about it forever. You know, Kaji actually, I guess, kind of sort of maybe risked his life to bring it back to Gendo, and then it never went anywhere. No, it's back, it's here, Gendo's using it. Yeah, it's a thing. Good, good. Also, Giant Naked Ray is back. Hey, look at her. Yeah, I know it's super creepy to watch me talk about Evangelion with a giant white, red-eyed, blue-haired, weird CGI head looking at you over my shoulder. Sorry. It's just, isn't it the most iconic image? Like, I am so glad they brought her back. I thought Giant Naked Ray was just going to like stay in 2.0 because we saw like a little bit of that of her in the end, but it wasn't like the big instrumentality type Giant Naked Ray. It was just a slightly bigger Ray, I guess, with angel heads. I don't know, it was creepy. It was good to see the Giant Naked Ray that we know and love from End of Evangelion. It was good. Yeah, I was glad to see her back. Yes, I realize how nonsensical that sounds. It's a visual thing, I'm sorry. And last but not least, they brought back Beautiful World! Ah, my feels! Also a remix. It's called the Da Capo remix. And I don't know why, but I tend to love the remixes way better than the original. But the song is the song, okay? And, you know, all my respect to One Last Kiss. It's a good song. I'm not saying it's not. But Beautiful World is the theme, the main theme of Rebuild of Evangelion, okay? Rebuild of Evangelion, main theme for the win. It had to come back. I love that it came back. I'm so glad it was in the movie. I'm so glad I sat through the credits. Because I thought, well, this is the last movie, so it's probably not gonna have anything after the credits, right? No, I sat through the entire thing and Beautiful World started, and I freaking got goosebumps. It was amazing. Now, let's talk a little bit about the world and the plot in general. So, my brother doesn't understand the purpose of Ville using ships for everything. Because he's like, you know, if they're gonna make the ships fly, why don't they just make planes? You know, aircraft, that kind of stuff. But I like it, and I think it's very clever that they're basically repurposing old stuff because they have no way of making new stuff. You know, it's like, it's a post-apocalyptic. You're not gonna like find factories where you can make new airplanes, or probably not find a lot of people who know how to make an airplane at that point. So I really liked it. And guys, like, can we talk about the cool points here? Like, they used ships as missiles. Ships as missiles. Guys, there was a point during that first fight in Paris, I don't know exactly what that was about, but somebody says the fourth wave, and I'm like, huh, I see what you did there. Haha. I'm just saying. Now, I still don't understand what all those like non-Eva looking Eva units are. I will talk about a bunch of stuff that I don't understand later on in the video, but like, I don't understand what those things are that don't look like Evas. I don't know why they have numbers like they're Evas. Like, I don't get it. I assume they don't have pilots. What, are they running on dummy plugs? Is that, like, I never knew. And I guess I'll have to live with it and kind of assume that it's basically just Kara trying to one-up each other by coming up with like the ugliest, most unsettling mech designs. Like 4444C. 4444C is a ridiculous model number. It is absolutely ridiculous. Why? Let me just say off the top that the entire time we spend in Village 3 is like my dream. Okay, I basically already mentioned that I love, you know, the low threat, just day-to-day life moments in the show, because that's what I want to see the most, is just the kids being kids and the kids having a relatively normal life. It's not that I'm saying that Evangelion needs to be like a high school AU or anything, but like I like to have some moments sprinkled in where we see them actually have some little amount of happiness, I guess. I feel so bad for them otherwise. And Village 3 and everything that happened in Village 3 is basically my dream, my Evangelion dream. I would take 4 whole movies of just these dumb kids bumbling about in the village. I loved, like, I knew I was gonna like it just from the trailer that I watched last time. I knew I was gonna like it, but like, I have no idea just how my heart like grew 3 sizes through the entire thing. Like, I love that section of the movie so much. Other things I liked, the Wanderers. Like, holy fuck, what? Those things are so fucking creepy. Like, they're lying there and they just stand up one day and decide to go on a walk. Like, what? Also, there were these arm thingies that attacked Asuka at one point, like floppy arm thingies, you know, the ones that have no body and they're just arms. Like Eva Unit 1 arms. It's like, holy shit, that is the freakiest thing I've ever seen. Shinji apparently has been achieving an infinity synchro rate for the last I don't know how long, and I at this point I just feel like they're just validating all the old fan theories for Evangelion, which, hey, fine in my book. I like that. Give me that fan services you've been promising for years. I'm good with it. There was a shot that I absolutely adored of Unit 13 during Instrumentality. Unit 13 just casually sitting on top of a building, all evil-like. I love it. It's so evil. It looks so evil, and I love it. My brother did think that some of the CGI looked a little bit crappy. I didn't mind. I feel, especially toward the end of the movie, during the Instrumentality scenes in the fight between 13 and Unit 1, he thought that the CGI just looked really crappy. I still feel like they do that on purpose, you know, to make these fights feel more alien, I guess, you know, the uncanny valley and such, but with the setting rather than with people. They used to do that with the angels as well. Like, the angels look very obviously CGI'd, but it's not because the CGI is crappy necessarily, it's because they want them to stand out in a really weird and stark way, and I like that. And honestly, one thing I really liked about this whole Instrumentality sequence is how the 2 Eva units were like fighting in all these familiar settings, but like you're so used to the Eva units being huge, and then they're like inside the apartment or inside the school, and you're like, it's so unsettling, right? And then these familiar settings all turned out to be kind of sound stages, which I thought was very meta. I think it was very clever and surreal at the same time, so for me it worked. It totally worked. Also, I like that Mari's Eva can basically now just absorb any Eva she bites into, basically. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess this new version of her Eva is an Adam's vessel. Like, is that what we're going with? I'm not entirely sure. I will figure it out eventually. My brother pointed out when the Wunda, which you probably can't see it, but it's a really tiny silhouette in that picture, when the Wunda, which has now become the new Lance, flies into Giant Naked Ray's eye, my brother turns to me like, is there a phobia of getting pointy objects stabbed into your eye? And I'm like, I don't actually know, but probably. Because, I mean, it doesn't do anything to me, but, like, I know a lot of people would, like, be super, like, disgusted by that. I guess that was the point, but I liked it. Also, I think the first time when I actually, like, screeched for a plot-related reason, that wasn't, like, a character, because, you know, I was screeching all through the village sequence when Toji and Kensuke and Hikaru were revealed. I was totally screeching through that, but like plot related things. I mean, there were a few actually, you know, Asuka's angel eye, and then there was the lake. But I think the lake popping up just like in the series was, I think for me, the first moment where I was like, oh, okay, so basically you're telling me the reboot theory is confirmed. I guess, like, we've been saying, the fandom has been saying since the first movie that this is some kind of a reboot of the entire, not of the series, but like of the universe in Evangelion. You know, like, the series happened and then somehow we cycled back and we are doing it all over again, and Rebuild is just like that version of it. You know, like, you go back to a point in time and you create a parallel timeline-ish, kind of. So we're all assuming like the stuff that happened in the series already happened here. People just don't remember it because we cycled back somehow. And the lake, I'm still not entirely sure that it's 100% confirmed. Probably. It seemed to me like it was. But like, the lake scene for me, where Kaworu and Shinji are in the lake, like they were in episode 24 of the series, basically confirms that for me. That was the first moment I was like, ah, it's real! You know what I mean? Like, it made me so excited. Wow. Again, give us that fan service. We love it. Now let's talk about Shinji, our protagonist. Dear boy, we love him. Sometimes. Anyway. Shinji, the first thing I thought about Shinji in this movie was that Shinji dressed in Toji's old clothes, much better. I was actually so disappointed when they put him back in his own uniform again. I was like, no, keep him in Toji's jumpsuit. I like that. He looks good. Whatever. One thing I did like about Shinji, and I liked Shinji a lot in this movie, but I think the first thing I saw from him that told me that this was going to be a different thing from the serious ending is that he more or less broke out of his catatonia on his own. I mean, yeah, Asuka kind of shaked him a little bit, and that's when he decided to just run. And then when he ran, it wasn't until later that he actually started speaking again, I guess. But I think the key moment for me was when he ate the food. It's like, I felt that he was having a realization, even though we only see him cry, basically. He eats and he cries. But I feel like he more or less realized that even if he was hurting, even if everything was so painful and the world is so painful, he didn't want to just die. And for me, that was the best first step, because in the series and in Evangelion, again, he went catatonic and he basically did not necessarily come out of it until he was inside Instrumentality. Like, even until the end, he was still trying to push away pain. Eventually he doesn't, but like, he turns around, but it's like 5 minutes out of the ending, you know? And I like that he sort of broke out of it a little earlier this time, and he mostly did it on his own. I mean, Asuka and Rei helped, of course, but I think it was him deciding that even though everything hurts, and like they said it in the recap, which, by the way, it's another thing that I find hilarious. They had to have a recap of all the 4 movies right before the movie started. Jesus Christ. Anyway, like they said in the recap, it's not, he can't just stay stuck in the way that, in the thought that nothing good ever happens, you know, and that everything is bad. And even though he still feels that way at that point, he doesn't want to die. He wants to have the chance to still, like, have something good happen someday. So it's the hope theme, you know, that we have so much in Evangelion. So I really like that. It felt like a very, maybe understated, but very pivotal character growth moment for Shinji, as far as I'm concerned. And then, excuse me, I might cry. and then when he's actually in Instrumentality and he's like, whew, whole new lease on life for this boy. Like, seriously, he's in Instrumentality, he's booted, Gendo out, and then Kaworu asks, "What's your wish?" You know, because that was the whole thing. And in End of Evangelion, he wished for a world where people wouldn't hurt each other, and then realized it wasn't great. You know, it's not really what he wanted, so he brought everyone back, or allowed for everybody to come back. In this one, it's very different. I mean, Kaworu asks him, "Well, what do you wish?" And he says, "I'm fine." You know, that line, that entire line, "I'm fine, I think I can handle pain and heartbreak. I'm more worried about saving Asuka and the others." Like, fuck! What are you doing to me? Like, I don't recognize this Shinji, and I love him. So much character growth. Like, he's not thinking about himself anymore. He's not thinking about his pain anymore. He can handle a little bit of pain, or a lot bit of pain, but like, he can handle it. He's just thinking about everybody else, which, when you think back to End of Evangelion Shinji, it's like, right? It's not just me. Like, when he said that line, I screeched. I'm pretty sure I screeched. Like, I can't even remember. I really love that. It's like a whole new different Shinji, and I love it. Also, last point in talking about Shinji, you have no idea how many feelings I had just from hearing adult Shinji speak. Oh my god. Eternal salute to Ogata Megumi, of course, like always, but just being able to hear a grown-up Shinji who does not have Ogata Megumi's voice, but is still Shinji. I'm not gonna cry. Oh my god, I'm getting chills. It's just, that's everything I ever wanted for him to be able to grow up somewhat happily, you know, like a normal kid. That's all I wanted. And that moment when he opens his mouth and speaks, that's when it hit me. And it hit me really hard. Wow. Okay. Now let's talk about Asuka. Fun story about naked Asuka. You know, that scene where she's like fully naked. I think she's like cleaning herself up or something, and she's fully naked, and Shinji comes in and he's catatonic, so he doesn't even react. You know, and they just like stare at each other forever. But it's not like sexual at all. Like, there's Asuka doesn't care, and Shinji's like out of it completely. So that scene, my brother was like, "But hey, why is she walking around like that? It's weird. Like, even if Shinji wasn't there, she's like, Kensuke's still around, right?" And I was just like, she's European. And then the European thing kind of became a running joke throughout the movie. Like, whenever Asuka was doing something weird, I was like, she's European. And my brother was like, she's European. And then even Mari got like an iteration of the joke later on, and you know, she is indeed European as well, so I guess it works. I just thought it was funny. This is my one complaint about Eva in general, and I have had this complaint since the series. Was it necessary for Asuka to be naked for like half the movie? I know she was in her place, you know, she said it wasn't her home, but she was still comfortable enough around it that she was naked the whole time. But still, like, was it necessary? And also, still with the repeated crutch shots, like, I don't know why they do this so often with Asuka. Please do. I don't need to see her crutch. It doesn't help me. You know, like, I would much rather be looking at her face, and I can't because your angle is weird. Ugh, I don't know. I swear, I know it's a thing in Evangelion and I'm used to it, but like, can we try something different? It's 2021, please. One thing I noticed that I was always curious about with Asuka is that she is apparently playing some kind of weird version of Tetris on her like little handheld console thingy, which I just thought it was funny. And also, she's a major, and also I'm totally swiping her signature because now we have her signature on screen and I'm totally swiping it. And one thing I did notice is that she writes her last name as Shikinami Langley. So when you westernize Asuka's name, like in Japanese, her name in the show, for example, was Soryu Asuka Langley, and in the movies it's been Shikinami Asuka Langley. So when people usually westernize it, they write it as Asuka Langley Soryu or Asuka Langley Shikinami. But I noticed in her signature that she writes her name as Asuka Shikinami Langley, which is, I think, makes more sense to me. And now I'm thinking, why didn't I think of it this way? Because it's the US / British / Western tradition where the father's name usually goes last. Like for me, I'm Hispanic, and for me the father's name usually goes first. So my two last names, my dad's last name is first, and then my mom's. And usually when I'm like doing casual business where I need to just give someone my name for some random thing, I drop my mom's name, generally speaking. Like most people don't use both last names. So for me it's always been father first and mother, just because of convention in the Hispanic language and in Spanish language. But in the US, in Britain, and generally everywhere that is sort of inspired by Anglo culture and language, they do father's name last, and then they drop the mother's name, but they drop it from the front. Which is, to my brain, it's weird, but that's how it works. And now it kind of makes sense, but also kind of doesn't make sense, because I can see why she would put her father's name, if there even was a father. I'm not entirely sure. She mentioned a mom and a dad, so I'm assuming even if they're not her like biological parents in some way, she still like has someone that she recognizes as a mom and a dad. So she puts her dad's last name last, so Shikinami Langley. But then she never uses Langley. Not really. They call her Shikinami all the time. So I don't know. It kind of makes sense to me, but it also kind of doesn't make sense. But I like it. I don't know. I just like that it was different, and it hadn't occurred to me that it might be different throughout all these years. So that was good. 100%. The best Asuka moment in this entire damn movie is Asuka containing an angel in her eye. Holy shit, my brain is exploding. What the fuck? Like, that whole scene! Fucking Christ! Like, do you get any more epic than this? Like, instrumentality. Asuka freaking pulling out I assume it was some kind of, like, I don't know, containment beam. So I don't even have the terminology, okay? It was the fucking most badass thing in the world when she pulled that thing out of her eye and just basically became an angel. Also, the DSS choker makes a lot of sense now, but like, guys, I could just watch that scene over and over again and just sit there and have my brain explode and lick out my ears every single time because it's so epic. It's a pity that she doesn't win, but like, my god, it's like, holy shit quotient off the charts. Fuck. And also, I remember last time when I was doing the reactions to the bunch of trailers I did last time, the video's on my channel, so be sure to check it out if you haven't yet. But I was reacting to some of the trailers, and they had that shot of like the Eva like all illuminated and stuff and popping out of the ground, and Mighty's Eva being right there, like watching it. And I did not know, it looked like Eva won at some point, so I wasn't sure if it was good. I thought it was Eva won. It turns out it was Asuka. Never would have guessed. Also, I'm kind of mind blown now that I'm talking about this. I'm kind of mind blown about how many scenes directly from the final fight they used in the trailers. Like, wow. It's a good thing they were all out of context, because otherwise that would have spoiled me silly. And, you know, I guess at this point when Asuka is sort of releasing the angel in some way, I guess that point wasn't quite the third act just yet, because the end fight was really long. It was like half the movie. So yeah, I guess you could say they weren't really using that many clips from the third act proper, but no, they were. Like this was just the start. There were more clips from the very, very last part of the movie. And man, you've got some balls, Kara. I'm just saying, like, normal people wouldn't do that, but I guess Evangelion it's so easy to just not have the context, because even with the context, I still don't understand a lot of things. So you're brave, that's all I'm saying. So Asuka also mentions at some point when she's about to blow up, she mentions that the person who's talking to her, which by the way, it's the same person who did the last, like the giggly laugh that we saw in 2.0, that came back too. So this person who's talking to her is a Shikinami type. So does that mean that Asuka is also a clone? Honestly, I'm guessing from what we see later that there have been several of her, but they're not necessarily clones of someone. They're just like, there was one Asuka and they made a lot of her, I guess. But it doesn't seem, I don't think we get any hints that she might be a clone of someone else necessarily. It's funny because now I'm wondering if maybe that woman we saw in the photo with Yui was not Asuka's mom, but Asuka herself? I don't know. It's strange. She was wearing glasses, so maybe not. Maybe it was Kyoko, but I don't know. I'm just saying it might be that she, like, there were several Asukas. That's what I'm getting from this scene at least, and later on in the movie. And there were many of her, but they're not necessarily like clones of someone else, and they're not necessarily like imbued with like angel genetics like Rei or Kaworu, because, you know, she doesn't look like an albino, I guess. Like she isn't like super pale or has weird colored hair or anything. So I'm thinking maybe they were like test tube babies or whatever, you know, like in the manga that was a thing. She wasn't like a regular baby, she was made in a test tube. And I wonder if maybe they did that in order to just enhance synchronization with the Evas, maybe, or just create better pilots, because Asuka was like the ace of the nerve force, you know, she was kind of the ultimate pilot. And honestly, if that's what they did, and I hope somebody explains this to me eventually, if that's what they did, it's kind of smart, honestly. It's kind of messed up too, because obviously she didn't have the best childhood and she was raised just to focus on Eva and nothing else, and it seems like she was the last of the Shikinami types. So that seems messed up, but like the idea of like genetically engineering a better Eva pilot is kind of smart. You know, I'm not saying go ahead and do that. It's unethical for sure, but like it seems from a villainous perspective, it seems smart. I don't know. And speaking of which, Asuka's backstory that we get during Instrumentality, that's just everything I needed in life. Okay, like we get so little about Asuka's past in any of the previous iterations of Evangelion. Like in the series, we only get that, like a few shots of her at her mother's funeral, and of course there's the famous scene where she sees her mother hung and the doll and everything. But that's basically all we get, and we haven't gotten any of it so far in Rebuild. So this entire sequence of her thinking about her past while she's in Instrumentality, everything I ever wanted in life, just period. I loved it. And I liked the idea of Kensuke being there as well. Like we knew that she did the doll thingy, and it wasn't as creepy as it was in the series because there was no mother suicide involved in it or anything. It was just she liked dolls, I guess, and she was using the doll as a sort of way to like talk to herself, you know, to tell herself what to do and how to feel, and especially when it came to being a pilot. So she saw that doll, and we understand that now. She sees that doll basically as the Asuka who follows orders. So when she tells her to do things or to behave a certain way or to feel a certain way, she's basically ordering herself to do that. And because of that, the doll is sort of a representation of little perfect pilot Asuka who lives to pilot and nothing else. And I liked the idea of the doll representing that, and then Kensuke being there as well. Almost like an anchor of why she wants to be in the world. You know, just protecting people rather than just piloting and being praised and being the best pilot. And that's just everything I needed on top of what I already needed. Like, it's on top of getting Asuka backstory, we also get this character development on top of it. And it's incredibly visual, because you see like the giant doll and then takes off its head and it's Kensuke, and it's like, oh, this is what it means. And I think it's amazing. And just, I love the whole Asuka and Kensuke thing. I will wax poetic about it later on in the video, but like, I love them. I love them so much. Now let's talk a little about Rei. Rei started off funny for me. Like, the first thing I think I saw of Rei that made me smile was when she was introduced to Tsubame, and she's like, it's a tiny human. Why did you shrink her? I laughed so hard. Like, Rei, stop, come on. But honestly, as time went on, I kind of had a bit of a love-hate thing with Rei's arc in this movie, honestly, because at the beginning it was super cute that they had to like keep teaching her about everything. Like, she knew nothing. Like, not even the basics. And then after a while it kind of got annoying, because I was like, oh my god, but why are you 5? You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to see Rei like not knowing what good. Somebody must have said goodbye to you. Come on. Even just Fuyutsuki. I'm pretty sure he says goodbye every once in a while. So that segment kind of annoyed me. But then she dies, and I was really sad for her. So yeah, like, back in my good graces, and it was sort of a roller coaster ride right there. Like, and I think that's good, because the more feelings I have, the better the more memorable I think she is. So it's fine that I didn't like her in the middle, but I liked her in the beginning, and then I liked her at the end again. And I think you did it right, Kara. Like, it worked. I'm not usually much of a Rei person necessarily, and it worked for me, so that's good. Also, confirmed, she's Ayanami number 6, which I think is kind of hilarious, because now I want to know where 4 and 5 are. Where did they go? Sad story. And as for old Rei, I kind of love that old Rei was like, Rei 3, I guess, was just like hanging out in Ava 1's core. Like in Unit 1's core. Which is, it's funny, because last movie in 3.0, Shinji actually told them to check. He was like, Rei must still be in Unit 1's core. Look for her. Check it out. And Ritsuko was like, we searched. She's not there. So of course, the second Shinji decides to pilot Unit 1 again, because in 3.0 he never did, he just piloted Unit 13. But the second he decides to pilot Unit 1 again, it turns out, yeah, she's totally been right there this entire time. It's so funny. I wonder what Ritsuko thinks of that. I'm just saying. Now let's just talk a little bit about Mari. I love Mari. She's insane. I love her. That's basically the gist of it. But like, I love her little quirks. I love that she started yet another movie with singing. Like, that's 3 movies in a row, right? Then she's just starting the movie off with singing. You gotta love her. And you know, there was the whole spinny thing. Like, I do worry that they might not have warned people that, you know, this movie could give them motion sickness or something. But Mari piloting her Ava with a wheel while she just spun around in the air shooting people and shooting things and kicking things, 100% worth it. I loved it. Of course, it makes total sense. Of course, she would be like, you know, like, fast and furiousing around. It's so good. I love Mari. I loved everything about Mari. My brother doesn't like her. He says he finds her annoying or something. I'm not sure. And whatever, that's his thing. But I love Mari. She is bad shit. And she stays that way until the last minute. And I love it. Brief mention about Kaworu, because of course he gets a cameo in this movie, and Commander Nagisa! Can I just I love that. I love that so much. Yes, please, let's make Kaworu Commander. I feel Kaworu is one of Rebuild's biggest triumphs for me, because I hated Kaworu in the series. Like, you have no idea how much I hated his guts. I did not like him. I thought he was manipulative. I hated that he wormed his way into Shinji's life and tried to like get him to do stuff, and that Shinji of course was in a vulnerable position, so he totally fell for it and then had to kill him. And look, I understand that there are a lot of the same beats in Rebuild, but he comes across so much nicer, so much more caring about what Shinji actually feels and knows and wants, and I love Kaworu. Rebuild made me love Kaworu. It's incredible what they've done with that character. I love it so much, and I was so happy to see him. Also, I was kinda right. I think I guessed back when I was reviewing the trailers, the spoilery trailers, I guessed that that shot of Kaworu and Kaji that we saw was going to be some kind of like heaven, you know, where dead people are. It kind of was. It was Instrumentality, technically speaking, but hey, it counts. I don't know. I just know I'm happy that Kaworu was back and that he took part in it. Don't ask me how he took part in it, because like, what did he get stuck in Unit 13? I don't know the mechanics of the impact yet, okay? It took me 10 years to understand the last one. Anyway, I don't know the mechanics of Instrumentality yet, okay? Like, it took me 10 years to understand the last one, so don't ask me to explain it. I'm just glad that he was there. Also, he called Kaji Ryo-chan. So cute. I love him. Now let's talk about Misato. And one of the things I loved about Misato is that what they did with her, like her shift from 2.0, where she's basically cheering Shinji on, to 3.0, where she's basically like blaming him for everything, was very stark. And we never really got an explanation for what she went through between those two movies. But with this movie, what they did with her subplot was very smart, because now her pushing Shinji away in 3.0 makes total sense, because it's basically the same thing she was doing when she pushed Ryoji Jr. away for his own safety, in a sense. You know, like, she blamed herself for what Shinji did, and she wanted Shinji to just live. And she knew that if he got into an Eva, he might not. He probably would not, because, you know, another impact would be. But her anger about him starting an impact wasn't about herself or the people who died necessarily. It was about him. She was worried about him, and if what it takes for her to keep him safe is to push him away and lock him up, then she's gonna do that, you know. And I like that, because it explained a lot of things about 3.0 that I wasn't sure about. I could guess, but now we know. And just her arc through the whole movie was fantastic. Eventually she has to decide to let Shinji do what he has to do, you know? And it's just, it's fucking emotional. Also, like, Jesus Christ, fuck my life, can you imagine having to give birth right after near third impact? Like, holy shit, Misato. You can't be serious. What? Okay, it's funny because Misato spends a lot of time during this movie just looking at the picture of Shinji and Ryoji Jr. together, and it literally did not hit me until literally the morning after I first watched the movie. You know, it's funny. You know how Shinji like opens his eyes and wakes up and he's like in a place he doesn't recognize, and that happens all the time. It's kind of a repeat image in Eva. That was me waking up the next morning after I first watched the movie. It's like I was just asleep and then boom, I wake up and it's like I get it now. You know, I wasn't even dreaming about it. I was like, but like I woke up and it was like, oh, that's why. And it's because she keeps staring at the picture because they're both her sons. My emotions. Okay. I'm sorry. It's goosebumps again. I love that. It took me. It was a delayed reaction on my part, but I loved it.
The second half of this review will come in part 2 of this episode of Talks from Freaking Narnia. It will be uploaded in a few days, as soon as Carla is finished editing it. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon if you want to be notified when it's up.
Hi everybody, Carla here, and let's make... He's not as big as an Eva, neurodivergent, or people who suffer the key of Nebuchadnezzar. 4444C is a ridiculous